Get my six. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the most awesomest homesteading channel on the entire planet that has absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with homesteading. Homesteading off the grid. OMG, yes, this guy's still here. So, get my six means watch behind me. You never know who or what may or may not show up in the background. Looks like there's one just, yeah, you see it. Keep your eyes on it, see if it moves. So I have a bit of a different story for you today. It's a story that my beautiful bride Dearly, aka Giggly Girl, actually told me about here a few days ago. And I've been meaning to tell it, but I've just put it off. So, as you know, if you follow this channel, my wife is a Filipina. She's from the Philippines. She came here when she was 28. She's been here for 8 years. She's 36 now. Very close to obtaining her U.S. citizenship. We're very excited about that. We spent this past winter in the Philippines. She's been back a couple times since we came over here. I used to live there for 6 years, so I know a lot about the culture, seen a lot of the country, lots of experiences. So Dearly and I were just talking about, we were like comparing and contrasting some of the cultures. So talking about some of the differences, some of the similarities. A lot of similarities, at least at surface level, at surface value. You can be suckered in and fooled too if you get too comfortable thinking that it's the same over there as it is over here. And there are quite a few differences, and it's good or bad for both. I mean, one of the differences is, and I really value this about Filipino culture, and this is part of her culture that we've kept, is that family is the most important thing in that culture. It used to be here in the U.S., not so much anymore, but it is to us. So we've kept that part of her culture. So that's one of the good aspects of the culture. One of the not so attractive aspects of the culture, and it's kind of in stark contrast to how it is here, is in regard to the mindset, the attitude, and the behaviors of affluent people. So I was a financial planner for 8 years, used to work with wealthy people at that level. We have wealthy friends here where we live. Some are celebrities, some are retired professional athletes, some are still active with what it is that they do. A lot of them are trust fund babies, most of whom, though, own businesses and provide jobs for other people. They don't just, there's this stereotypical concept of like the idle rich. We don't have anybody that would fit that description, even though we have friends worth tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars through inheritances. These people are not idle. And most importantly, they're very humble. They're very kind, generous when they choose to be. They don't allow themselves to be taken advantage of course. And it's like, and this used to really dumbfound my wife when she first got here, and she would meet some of these folks because they would be wearing a ratty old t-shirt like us. They would be out mowing their own lawn, even though they could certainly afford to pay somebody to do it, just because they enjoy doing it and they don't view it as if they're above manual labor. Our son has become friends with some of their children, and it's like she would just get shell-shocked when we take the kid over for a play date and we roll up on this mansion sitting on 50 acres, 100 acres, you know. And she was amazed the most by just their humility and their down-to-earthness, because this is quite the opposite of most of the affluent people, the wealthy people in the Philippines. Their money is power. And listen, I'm going to just spit some unpleasant truths. I know a lot of folks get offended by the truth. They don't want to hear it. They want to hear that the rest of the world is just like us and everybody's a blah, 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 blah. No, it's not. It's not true. So in the Philippines, not all, and there's going to be an example in this story where they're not all arrogant and corrupt. It's a feudalistic society still. There's like no middle class. Like 1% of the population is filthy rich by American standards, and then 99% of the population is third world poor. There's very little in between. In the last decade or so, there's starting to be some inroads made with the development of that middle class, mostly because of social media, technology. And I was happy to see it because I really, my family over there, I love them. My brothers and sisters and cousins and nieces and nephews, we took off the in-law, okay? My parents over there, my grandparents, we don't even use the term in-law because that's how close we are. And it's real, it's genuine. And it's not because they want something from me or think they can get something from me because I'm an Americano or whatever. None of that. It's real, it's genuine. So affluent folks over there are arrogant, rude. They buy off the cops. Here's an example, and I have a brother over there, Dearly's brother, who is actually very soon going to be a police officer, and he's been doing some training, doing some ride-alongs, and he shared some of these stories with me. The population is outrageous. Dearly's parents had 12 kids, and that's not uncommon. There's a lot of people on a very small, massive land. So when we went back this winter, we stayed not just in the same city where I used to live for almost 6 years, but in the same neighborhood because I was familiar with that part of the city. And what used to be a 20-minute taxi ride has become now like an hour to an hour and a half long taxi ride. It's really terrible. And the pollution has gotten so much worse. I stayed sick over there. I've always been grateful for what I have here in Central Virginia, especially since I got it after coming back from living over there for 6 years. And it's like I was reminded, and my level of gratitude for what I have here and the life we have here was like amplified after spending 5 months over there again. Okay. So it takes an hour and a half to get somewhere because of the traffic. Well, what the rich people will do is, because they're not going to wait in traffic, they'll go find a cop on a corner and pay him whatever amount of money to give them a police escort to wherever they're going. Maybe it's just to the mall. The cop will turn on the sirens, pocket the money, turn on the sirens, get through that traffic. Everybody's moving out of the way. And it's just so some rich person can go shopping. Let's say, okay, they park on the sidewalks because there's nowhere to park. It's so overcrowded, overpopulated. So they'll park on the sidewalks, pull right up to the business where they're going to. If a cop comes by and says anything, one of several things might happen. Number one is the rich Filipino might say, they might just hand him 1,000 pesos, which is like $22, which is a lot of money over there. That's 3 days worth of wages. They might just hand him 1,000 pesos bill and say, here, don't waste your time and mine writing me a ticket. And most times the cop will say, okay. Or the rich person might look at the cop and say, if you write me a ticket, I will have you killed. And they will. And it costs about $100 to have somebody assassinated over there if you want to hire a hitman. $100, $100 US. So the cop will say, okay, and walk away, typically. If they pull over a rich person for speeding, same thing. The rich person will say, if you give me a ticket, I will have you killed. Or I'll kill a member of your family. Then I asked my brother-in-law, I'm like, so what do you do as a cop in that situation? He says, you don't write the ticket because they will kill you. And I do know this to be true. There are stories I won't tell on here, not because they bring back some sort of trauma, but because they would violate the community guidelines and standards of this platform. Things that I saw with these eyes over there. But see, they don't want you to know that these things happen out there. No. So with this said now, I get to my story now that I'm almost 10 minutes into it. Dearly, my wife, was telling me about this woman who is very, very wealthy. The way she's wealthy is because she's the mistress of the second richest man in the country, who's a billionaire by U.S. standards. He's into telecom. He owns some cable network channels, a huge real estate investor. So she's the mistress. Divorce is illegal in the Philippines. So the guy gives his wife an allowance to just stay out of the picture and keep her mouth shut, while he lives with the mistress, and the mistress gets the lion's share of his wealth and the lifestyle. So there's a mall in Makati City outside of Manila, up in Luzon, and we stayed close to this for 6 months, many years ago. It's a block away from the Filipino stock exchange. It's the wealthiest part of the country, and we were staying there because we were waiting on Dearly's visa to come to the U.S., and I didn't want to be around the poor. Where we had been staying before down in Mindanao, the southern Philippines, I wanted nothing to do with that anymore. I wanted to be around the affluent people. Yes, they're arrogant and blah, 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 but they leave you alone. They leave you alone. They don't harass you or bother you because you're a white foreigner, and they don't want anything from you. They already have money, so they're not trying to get yours. So by living in that environment, it got rid of a lot of the stressors that had really plagued me over there for years. Not being able to walk down the street without being harassed for money, or hey, buy us beer, buy us chicken or whatever, and then when you say no, then you're cursed out and told to go back to the U.S. Didn't happen every day. It happened a lot of days. Okay, so there's this mall, and they cater to the wealthy people. I mean, you go in there, you're going to be able to get $50,000 Rolexes and all that. I used to sit there and see the Mercedes Benzes coming up and down the road, and I remember this quote. In a wealthy country like the U.S., poverty should be an embarrassment. And in a poor country like the Philippines, wealth should be an embarrassment. I just could never comprehend how those people over there, these wealthy people, could just in good conscience go out there in their $120,000 Mercedes Benz, driving up and down streets where the majority of the people on those streets don't know where their next meal's coming from. But hey, to each his own. So anyway, this mall, they have a VIP entrance to where if you're rich enough or you're important enough, you go through this entrance. The commoners, such as myself, we're not allowed to use this entrance. So you go in this entrance and you're catered to by like 6 or 8 sales representatives who take you around the entire luxury department store, anywhere else in the mall. So this wealthy woman, the mistress of this business tycoon, she goes in through the VIP entrance. She gets her entourage of salespeople to surround her, and she always has bodyguards because it's like the wealthy people. They'll always have their bodyguards with them. It's twofold. It is kind of like a self-importance thing. They view themselves as so important that people are always trying to rob them or kidnap them. But in reality, that's true. And thirdly, they'll keep them because if somebody disrespects them, let's say they're going down the street and they disrespect them, they'll tell one of their bodyguards to go, hey, go kill that guy, go shoot that guy. I'm just telling you, it happens. And what happens if a cop comes up? They pay off the cop. I mean, it's a reality that you couldn't imagine. So this very wealthy woman goes through the VIP doors. She got her bodyguards, the salespeople with her. She's going around the store. She decides to go to the elevator to go to another level in the mall. So she's so important. Nobody else is allowed to be on the elevator with her, especially a commoner, right? Or a peasant. So the elevator doors open, and there's a little old lady standing in the elevator. So of course this wealthy woman's bodyguards know to get that little old lady out of there, and they say, "Hey, little old lady, get out of there. We're getting in." She's going up. Little old lady says, "Well, I'm going up too. It's fine. There's room." The guards say, Don't you know who she is?" The little old lady looks over at her and says, "Yeah, aren't you so and so? The mistress of," because they're in that culture, something like that will bring you great celebrity status. It's not viewed as, oh wow, you're messing around with a married man, maybe you shouldn't be doing that. They'll flaunt it publicly for status. So the little old lady's like, "Yeah, aren't you so and so?" And she says, "Yes." "Will you get out of my elevator now?" So the little old lady gets out of the elevator. The rich B word gets in the elevator, and off they go. Well, the next day, Miss Thing's in her skyrise, and she receives a hand-delivered, notarized letter at her door. So she opens it up, she reads it, and the letter is informing her that she is banned for life, for all of eternity, from ever going to that mall. It's called Greenbelt 5 in Makati City. Anybody that's ever been over there will know that mall. The letter was sent to her from the little old lady that she kicked out of the elevator, because as it turns out, that little old lady owned that mall, among a ton of other things. See, she just wasn't arrogant. She wasn't cocky. She was more of the mindset of like an American wealthy person, very humble. She was self-made. That was a lot of it too. She wasn't. She didn't marry into wealth. She wasn't born into wealth. She didn't screw her way into wealth. She worked for it, and so she remembers what it's like to be the little guy. She remembers what it was like to be pushed around by the big guys. Well, she's a big guy now, so she doesn't put up with that stuff anymore. And Miss Thing will never go back to that mall. I just thought that was a great story. Karma, poetic justice, whatever you want to call it. So, hope you enjoyed this story. I know it was brief, a lot shorter than I usually tell them, but it is what it is. Thanks for being here with me. The greatest homesteading channel on the entire planet that has absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with homesteading. Homesteading off the grid.